Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. Well, I have a two-part question. The first part's really quick. What happens when Bert and Ernie have a baby? You get a Bernie. And the second part...
That's not a question, that's a joke. Bert and Ernie have a baby, you have a Bernie.
Okay, and would you support the proposal Bernie Sanders had made to increase create CO2 taxes, or taxes on CO2 emissions?
No, I'm not supporting any tax. We don't have a tax problem. In America, we have overtaxation in this country. These people are obsessed with taxes. Their solution to everything in taxes, concussions in football, let's put a tax on concussions. I mean, it's crazy. They're out of control. Everything that they solve is a tax. Tax this, tax that. Guy, we have too many taxes. You want to know why businesses are leaving America? Because we've become one of the most tax-crazy environments in the world. We are going to reduce taxes. We are going to reduce regulations. We're going to embrace free enterprise, which is the only economic model in the history of the world where you can make poor people richer without having to make rich people poorer. And that's why we are going to embrace free enterprise when I'm president.
First of all, thank you, Senator, for coming out.
Thank you.
And secondly, I was wondering specifically which taxes should we cut to help businesses, big and small, stay in the United States and grow?
Well, first of all, the most American businesses are organized as subchapter S, meaning they're paying on their personal rate, which could be as high as 39.5. Big businesses are taxed at 35, but with all kinds of exemptions, some are paying 0 or 5%. The first thing I'm going to do is ensure that all businesses in America are taxed on a flat rate of no more than 25%, no matter how you're organized. That'll make us globally competitive. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to allow you to immediately expense everything you invest in your business. So today, if you invest $1,000 in your business, you have to write it off in what's called a schedule over an extended period of time. Under my tax plan, you will be able to write off that $1,000 right away, and not tax you. And third, we're going to bring some of that money back, the $2 trillion that's sitting overseas, by moving to a territorial system of taxation. We have $2 trillion of American corporate money sitting parked overseas. That's $2 trillion is the size of the Russian economy. That's how much money that is. We're going to help bring that back. Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to have a VAT tax, a value-added tax like they have in Europe and in Canada. We're not. And we're not, as some other people running for president support, going to have an internet sales tax. We're not going to have an internet sales tax where 10,000 jurisdictions across America are now going to be breathing down your neck to collect the sales tax. You don't have a sales tax here. You shouldn't be forced to collect the sales tax of New Jersey or any state in America.
Hold on, gotta wait for the microphone.
Senator Rubio.
Yes, sir.
As president, my name is Mike Castaldo from Dublin, Hampshire. As president, how would you address ending extreme poverty, particularly in Africa?
Extreme poverty in Africa? Yes. Well, first of all, obviously, look, we care about global issues, and I think that's important for us to be engaged in global issues. And I would remind everyone, America's already done more than anybody else, both through the taxpayer, but also through individuals. We're the most generous people on this planet. There are people alive in Africa today because America has funded HIV/AIDS medications that have kept people alive and have allowed children to be born with that. And I think God has honored that and will bless America for what we've done, and we'll continue to be in this way. But ultimately, it's up to those countries to decide they want to embrace economic models that allow them to be prosperous. We're more than willing to help within limits, but ultimately their destiny is in their hands. Our number one priority will continue to be to keep America stronger than it's ever been.
So Rubio, I don't understand why so many people consider you establishment. I mean, this is the label you've been given, because I don't see that in you. I see you're polling, you're the one who can defeat Hillary, you're the top person in the bracket. Can you explain why you are the one who should win the nomination?
Well, first of all, as I said, when I ran for the Senate, I ran against the entire leadership of the Republican Party in the Senate. Every single one of them. They wanted the governor of Florida to be the nominee. And I told him, this guy's not a real conservative, and I was proven right. He became an independent, then he ran for Republican as a Democrat, for governor as a Democrat. Now he's a vegetarian. I mean, he keeps switching. So anyway, and even now, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out a fact. I'm not complaining about this. No, what I'm about to say, I'm not complaining about this. There's been $25 million spent attacking me. $25 million, that didn't come from $50 checks. Those were multi-million-dollar checks that were raised to attack. Because they told me, you can't run, you gotta wait your turn, you haven't been here long enough. Well, we've done it that way for too long. Every time we listen to the people in Washington that tell us this is who we should nominate, we lose. I'll beat Hillary Clinton. You know why? I'll beat her because the issues she talks about, I've lived. She can't lecture me about these things. How's she gonna lecture me about student loans? I had one. She can't lecture me about people that are struggling to make it. My parents never made a lot of money. And that's why I believe in free enterprise, because I know it's the best way to help people climb up and stand up on their own 2 feet. And she can't lecture anyone on national security. She's disqualified from being commander-in-chief. And so, we will win this election if I'm our nominee. I will beat Hillary Clinton. They know that. They know that, and I know that, and that's why I can't wait, God willing, to be the nominee of this party. So we can't just defeat Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. We can turn this country around and away from the disaster of Barack Obama.
Question all day, probably gonna come from this little girl right here.
Because I'm a child and my parents are gonna pass this nation down to my generation. You touched on a lot of issues, and I wanted to know what you thought was the most pressing issue and how you're gonna fix it.
Yeah. What's your name? I didn't get your name.
Caitlin Clark,
Caitlin. How old are you, Caitlin?
11.
11. Okay. Caitlin, I have 4 children, and having you stand up today kind of makes me miss them a little bit, because my oldest daughter's 15, and then the next one is 13. And then my boys are 10 and 8, and hopefully they'll join me here on the campaign in the road soon. It's hard to be away from my kids because I'm never going to get these years back that I'm away. But I want to tell you why I'm running. Because I want them to inherit a country as special as the one that was given to me. To me, that's the most important issue. America changed the history of my family. When my father was 9 years old, his mom died. And so he had to go work and never went back to school. And he would never go back to school. He would work the next 70 years of his life. When they got here, they didn't know much English. In fact, the first words my father learned were my cousin, who had lived here a couple years, my older cousin, had written out phonetically on a piece of paper, "I am looking for work." And so he would go to places with his little sheet of paper and say that in his very broken English. And it was hard. They really struggled here for the first few years. Ultimately, though, they got their way. My dad became a bartender on a hotel on Miami Beach, and my mom ended up being a cashier, a maid, a stock clerk at Kmart. And my parents never became rich or famous. They never made a lot of money. But they were able to own a home, and they retired with dignity. And the most important thing for them was they lived to see all 4 of their children better off than themselves. There's no other place in the world where that would have happened. If my parents had gone anywhere else on this planet, I wouldn't be standing up here today. Because most places tell you can only be what your parents were. And that's good news if your parents are wealthy and connected people. It's terrible news if they're not. My parents, thanks to God, happened to wind up in the one place on earth where that's not true. And that changed the history of my life and of my family's. And so why I'm running is because I want my 4 kids, and quite frankly, I want you, when you're my age, to live in a country that still is that. I want you, and I want my children, and I want that generation to inherit a country not just as good as the one that welcomed my parents, but one that's better. And we're losing that. We're losing that. You know, every country in the world has rich people. We're grateful, and we celebrate financial success. What makes us special are the firefighters, the police officers, the nurses, the teachers, our veterans. When you become a firefighter, you know you're not going to get rich being a firefighter. But your goal in life is to own a home, raise your family, afford Patriot season tickets, and retire with dignity. That's the American dream, and we're losing it. Because we have a president that's trying to make us more like the rest of the world. In essence, we have a president that's trying to make us more like the countries people come here to get away from. There is no way in the world I can stand by after everything America's done for me and watch that happen. My kids deserve to inherit a country as good or better than the one that my parents left for me and your parents and your grandparents left for your parents. And if I'm president, I will fight every day to make sure that happens.
And Senator, with that, we'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
hope I
so
can
much.
earn your vote. Thank you.